This is Coffee with Kelly, a dynamic podcast that's dedicated to driving positive change in school safety. I'm your host, Ethan Woodman, Product Marketing Specialist for Crisis Go, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Kelly Moore, Senior School Safety Specialist for Crisis Go. Our mission is to empower you with essential knowledge, tools, and inspiration required to foster a safer and more secure school environment. We hope this podcast will be the catalyst for transformation in your schools. Join us as we continue to dive into the world of school safety. Well, good morning, Kelly. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well.
So this is a particularly fun episode where we're going to kind of give you a highlight of what we've discussed over the last year. I mean, that's crazy, Kelly. Isn't it crazy to think we've been doing this for almost a year now in January?
Yeah, this is actually the last one in the series over the year, and it is crazy that we're still doing it. I think we've had a lot of fun doing it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun in the future. I think people are starting to recognize the value in it. And we've taken it, surprisingly, we've taken it on the road several times. I think we've talked about that as well. And the feedback that we get and the comments that we get has been really nothing but positive. And it really, it's crazy to think it was a year ago, literally a year ago, that the three of us were talking about putting this together. And we launched it January last year, and we're finishing up season 2. We'll have season 3 next year. So it's crazy to think. And I think I told you this in the last podcast that we did. My son just really thinks this is crazy, that who would have ever thought, me being technology illiterate, essentially, that I would be doing a podcast and that we would have.
That's why you have me, Kelly.
I know.
That's where I come in.
I have people for that, but it's
you have merch and people.
We do have merch. It's crazy.
Man.
And every time we turn around, we're doing something different to really work through this whole thing, and it's been very fun.
Yeah, in the coming year, so 2024, we will be at FETC in Orlando, Florida, and I'm hoping that we have some different branded merch. Might be some t-shirts with Kelly's face on it. Who knows?
But we're going to have some pins because we're launching next year. We're launching a huge partnership program for those partners who we integrate with, in addition to the concept of being partners with our customers and working through their issues with them. But we're going to really aggressively launch our partner program. And in fact, at FETC, we're having several of our partners join us in that launch, and we're going to be really excited to see how that plays out. But we're going to have 4 or 5 of our partners who are going to be right next to us, and instead of having 5 or 6 different individual booths, we're going to be tying all of those things together, all of those partners together, and we're going to be doing demos together. We're going to be communicating. We're going to refer people directly to our partners. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward. I think that's a groundbreaking concept for these conferences, where you usually get people who are competing against each other or trying to work individually. And we've talked ad nauseum about the importance of partnerships and relationships and how they relate to the emergency management preparation, response phases, all of those phases we've talked about, how important partnerships are in that. And I'm just so excited that we're really extending that and really living up to that by launching this program.
It's going to be a blast. And you get to see me again, Kelly. So there's that too.
There is that. It's always a fun time when the marketing crew gets together. We have a good time.
Oh, yeah. So, Kelly, my first question here is, off the top of your head, what was your favorite podcast that we did this year?
You know, it's really hard to say because, you know, I think there are so many that are so valuable. And, you know, really, I think my favorite was the very first one.
Like the intro?
The intro. Really?
Really?
Yeah, because
Really? Wow.
because it really, to me, marked a new phase in what we're trying to do, and we're reaching people. And I think there's this idea that people want this information, and you know where that has led all started with that first step. And when you really think about where we are today versus where we started a year ago, we're so much more educated, myself included, about this whole process, not just the podcast process, but relaying information, explaining, having these discussions really even gets me to start thinking in other avenues of school safety. And without taking that first step, which to me is symbolic of what we're asking our listeners, our customers, our partners to do, is take that first step and start learning and really start applying what you learn. And I think we've done that. And so that, to me, that's why that's really the most significant. My favorite one was the first one. It'll always be the first one.
Well, that's very interesting, Kelly. I think probably my favorite, I can't really narrow down one, but I think when we are talking to the parents, I think that was probably my favorite. I don't know if it's because I can relate to it more, but I don't know. I just feel like there was so much more of like a, not maybe more of, but I like that charge, you know?
Sure.
Like,
sure.
here's what you need to do. Like, you can be a part of this too. Like, it's not just the people that work at a school. Like, you're a part of this too.
Yeah. And I think not you can be, you should be.
Yeah.
And and I agree. I think it's very difficult to say, you know, as you look back at all of the topics that we covered, you know, from setting up your program, setting up your teams, to understanding safety in general, the general philosophy and the efforts that are needed, to looking at all of those people. When we say a shared responsibility, when we're talking about school safety, it's difficult to really, you know, put your finger on, yep, that one was my favorite one. But I will say that when we're talking about parents and their involvement, I think that's that group of people, our parents, are often left out of the conversation. And if we're utilizing them correctly, they can be big advocates for lots of things school safety related, including funding, time, policies, expectations, those types of things. So yeah, that was a very good one as well. And we talked about parents in 3 or 4 specifically, I think. And really most recently was, how do we make them our allies in school safety? And I agree. I think our parents are important in this whole equation, and we shouldn't leave them out. And I think, you know, for you and Kayla you both have small children, and it becomes real.
Yeah.
When we start thinking about what we're going to do with our children when we have to make that decision.
You know, what I love is, you know, obviously I'll listen to some other podcasts. I know, Kelly, I listen to other podcasts other than ours. Okay. Don't Don't get offended. But here's the thing: is that like you listen to some of these other podcasts, and they're like the structure of them is so like sporadic and like all over the place. And if you go back to the very first podcast, maybe the one after the intro, and you can literally listen from the beginning, and you can have this like foundation, this buildup of skills and knowledge that you can directly apply to enhancing school safety. It's like a step by step process, and it's just, I don't know. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, and that's kind of what we wanted it to be, is a step by
Yeah.
step process, and we want people to be involved with those discussions. I think, as we look forward into 2024 and 2025, I think that we should look at what's the next step, and that's including people to interview from the school level, from the parents. We should look at trying to work through those issues, and really talk to we already have some podcasts scheduled, or in the planning stage, I should say, of talking with some of our partners. We're going to take the podcast on the road again at FETC. We're talking about some other conferences and summits that we're attending. And I think having those discussions will be very beneficial to not only those audiences that are specifically parent audiences or teacher audiences or so forth, but in general will kind of take us to that next level. And I think that when we start building upon what we've done this year, I think we're going to continue with that process, and it's going to spin off into other aspects of what Crisis Go does. And right before this, we started recording this specific podcast, I'm working at building a school safety academy curriculum.
That's gonna be awesome.
I look forward to that, and having the ability to present that at times, and so take some of the topics and some of the blogs and stuff that we've done this past year and really turn them into educational material that we can either train in person or present to people so that they kind of get an idea of what they're supposed to do, or at least point them in the right direction.
And one thing that we're very excited about, and probably a little bit nervous, but we're obviously trying to make the podcast reach as many people, and in order to be the most effective on social media and all that, I think we're going to try doing video. Ba-da-bum-bum.
Yeah, I don't think there's, as Yoda says, there is no try. There is do or do not.
Oh man.
So we may fail at it. I don't think we will, but we're going to do it. And likely it's going to be January.
It's going to be sweet.
Did I just say that? Did I just put a deadline on it?
You did, Kelly, so thanks for that. No.
Yeah. Hard date. Yeah.
Man, we're committed now.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should be. And I think we should commit to it and give it our best shot there. Sorry, Kayla.
She'll be an audio and video editor now.
Right. It'd be good for her. Expand her horizons as well.
Well, Kelly, is there anything else you want to mention or highlight from the past year before we bring this season to a close?
I don't think specific. I think, we've talked about all of the, in generalities, all of the things we've done where we've set a good foundation for what it is that we're attempting. I think there's a lot of excitement about the podcast within the company and within the community that we're connected to. So I thank everyone for that. And I think they understand our vision, and I think that's positive for me. I will say that we have a long way to go.
Yes. Yes, we do.
We have a lot of things that are still occurring, and we need to work towards solutions there. And I think that's where we're going to look towards in the coming year. That being said, this is a time where most of us reflect on what we've accomplished over the past year or so and what we're going to do to be better. And I think that it's important that we take that time and reflect on how we can do it better. Even if we're doing very well, how can we do it better? We've said this many, many times. There's always room for improvement. And I think us as a team, we're going to improve, and we're going to enjoy the holiday season just like everyone else. So we're all taking off that week between Christmas and the new year. And from that, I think we're going to be well rested, prepared to really hit the ground running. And we all hope that we have a safe and successful, however you define that, new year coming up. And I wish everyone the best.
Awesome.
Ethan, what about you?
What about me? It's all about you, this podcast. It's got your name on it.
This is not all about Kelly. Teamwork, partnerships.
Yeah.
What do you think? Give us some parting words.
So I think that this is definitely a time that there's a lot of people traveling. So let's apply some of these basic, safety methodologies and whatever you want to call them. Drive safe. Don't be one of those people who's driving 100 miles an hour. Wherever you're going, you'll get there. Don't worry. Spend time with family as much as you can, and make sure you eat all the holiday cookies. My favorite are sugar cookies. And we will see you next year on Coffee with Kelly, Season 3.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Crazy.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you have any questions about what we discussed, leave a comment on our website at crisisgo.com. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Coffee with Kelly, a discussion on school safety.